resistance training, you're going to damage the end plates of the bones. I think that's where a lot of the issue come from. But I think the research in the last 5 to 10 years has pretty much disproved that theory.
Okay.
And, you know, you can't just say to someone, oh, you're not 14 years old yet, you can't lift something heavy. You know, it's like, you know, people are told they can't lift weights after they've had a baby for a certain period of time. But what about someone that's got 2 young children?
Yeah.
You've still got to pick them off the ground, right? They're still resistance training.
Okay. Max, you want to elaborate on that?
I just think there's...
Same neural pathways, but it generally sends it back to the muscles.
Okay.
And what often happens is it will either spasm or inhibit the muscle. So what I'm really saying is you could have a client with a food intolerance and that could cause inhibition of their abdominal wall. If they've got inhibition of the abdominal wall, it's going to reduce their ability to have good motor control.
Okay, so eat good, feel good, and move a lot.
And they might have a functional leg length discrepancy, which means if you correct other parts of the body, the legs become equal. What happens quite often is people go and see a specialist, they see they've got a leg length discrepancy, but they don't understand the difference between a structural and a functional, and straight away they give them an orthotic. And all you're doing then is perpetuating the imbalance. Okay?
Okay.
If someone has a structural leg length discrepancy, which is best monitored with an X-ray, then that might help rebalance the body by giving them an orthotic to balance out the length of the legs. If someone's given an orthotic to control pronation, that's a real problem. Because if someone's over-pronating because they've got weakness in the abdominal wall, if they've got weakness in the gluteus muscles, what you're having is you've got a situation where you've got medial rotational instability at the hip, okay, which is causing pronation of the leg. If you then put an orthotic in the foot to stop it pronating, what you've now got is the femur internally rotating on a tibia that's not moving.
Yeah.
And what you're creating is excessive torsion through the knee joint.
Yeah.
So you might have fixed the problem, but then you've caused another one in the knee, probably going to blow their ACL eventually.
Okay.
Perfect reason.
So if I was going to use every assessment technique that I've got on a client, it'd probably take me half a day to do it.
That's good business.
We don't do every assessment on every client because it's just not necessary. We do a lot of static measurements. Now some people say, well, that doesn't always carry over to function, and that's true. So that's why we also do movement screens. So we do 2 main things. The first thing we do, we assess people in what we call infant development movements. So we try to get people to replicate movements they would have done through different stages of their infant development.
Okay.
If they miss a pattern or they had a faulty pattern during infant development, it normally shows up when you move as an adult. Because the first 12 months of life, we spend training to be able to stand on 2 feet and to walk. That's the gold standard of infant development, is walking. That's one of the most highly neurological things that we can do as a human being, certainly as a child. From then, we also screen what Paul calls the 7 primal patterns. So squatting, lunging, bending, pushing, pulling, twisting, and gait. And we assess gait, walking, running, and sprinting.
Okay.
So we see what level someone's able to do, and then we want to know what level they need to get to, and then we train them up to that level.
Okay. So a lot of assessment with you guys.
Yeah, because if you're not assessing,
you're just guessing.
you're guessing.
Okay, Lex.
You know, it's enabled a lot of people to get moving. That's a definite plus. Okay. What I think the biggest weakness of CrossFit is that it allows people to do very highly technical movements under quite a high load when they're fatigued, and when most of them don't have the flexibility, the stability and the strength to be able to do it in the first place.
Okay.
If in some way they could improve the way that they train people before they do those movements, then it will be a much safer and more effective system.
Okay.
I'm thinking of inventing a new version of it. It's going to be called CheckFit. If no one else nicked that name, okay, it's mine.